Gary,
What up, Elle?
at the time of this recording, it's about 11 a.m. Eastern time, and I have already had to tell Xander at least 6 to 7 times to stop talking about his penis.
Oh my God. He's so consistent.
Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show with Gary Streisky
What a
and the
start to the
aforementioned
sports
Elle Duncan.
program.
I should probably be clear if there is any new viewers slash
Mhm.
listeners. Welcome. We love you here. Thank you. Tell someone about the show because we want to keep growing. Xander is my 3-year-old son. Let me be very clear, not my husband. Xander is my son. He is very into private parts at this point, discovering them, diddling them. I feel like you guys just kind of come out this way. We were on the plane yesterday coming home from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we were having a family reunion on my
Oh, let's
husband's side.
go.
Yeah, good old
Sorry to
Tulsa.
hear that you had to come back from Tulsa.
Yeah, it's a huge bummer. And he just proudly pronounces on the plane, like he was saying something, and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. So he decided to say at the top of his little lungs, right there on that plane, look, it's my penis. He had pulled it out through his shorts and he was just sort of holding it on
Excuse me.
the airplane. And I was like, this is a thing that if you were a little bit older would definitely get you arrested. I'm glad it's adorable and you're little. But yeah, kids have a knack for just saying really inappropriate things as loudly as possible. Like when he came from the bathroom on the airplane and proudly
Oh,
proclaimed for the 6 rows around him, I pooped. It was a big poop, but I didn't poop in my pants. I'm like, well,
okay. Well, I
small
mean,
victories.
I've heard that from 3-year-olds. I've heard that from 33-year-olds. Okay. So honestly, he's right on track.
You
To
tell
which
Abby that when you
L,
come back from the bathroom. I
yeah.
didn't poop my
Hey,
pants.
hey, hey, I
I
made it.
made it.
We've all had that suspect Taco Bell. All right, we've all been on the brink. All right. It begs this question, Elle, because of course, children, as I don't have any of my own, but I
Sure.
read and I hear the stories,
Allegedly.
they emulate and imitate what they see and hear around them. So I'm
Yeah,
just
no, I'm always touching my penis.
well the
So it's true.
something about the apple falling or not falling too far from the tree. That tree being Omar. Okay, your husband. So I'm just trying to connect the dots. L.
You know Omar well enough to know he doesn't walk around and proudly proclaim that he has a penis or that it's long or any other things that Xander's been telling us about this. And so what I did on the plane was just sort of bury myself in the live
Oh,
TV. Thank God for live TV on planes at this point, which
honestly.
allowed me the opportunity to watch the game of the weekend. And let me back up really quickly. I had quite a few people when I said I was going to Tulsa, Oklahoma over the last few days say, "Good God, why, woman? Why
Mhm.
would you do that?"
Oh my god.
And I said it was for a family reunion. And then they said, "Did you have family in Tulsa?" I'm like, "No, every year my husband's family chooses a different city in the country, sometimes even Canada, to have a family reunion at because it gives you an opportunity to connect, explore, see a new place that maybe you'd never seen before." And everyone was like, wow. And you chose Tulsa, Oklahoma for a few reasons. Great, not great history, but certainly a ton of history surrounding Black Wall Street and what happened with the Tulsa race riots. So that was an opportunity to go to the museum and sort of see what used to be a really thriving, Black community in the early 1900s. But I will say this about Tulsa, Oklahoma, Gary.
Talk to me.
People couldn't have been nicer. Very nice folks in Oklahoma.
Sure.
Good, just quality people
I'm
everywhere we
saying.
went, just nice folks everywhere. So shout out to Tulsa. Uh, would say if you're sort of on your way to Oklahoma City, stop in Tulsa. Don't know that I would maybe make it a destination again, but I'm glad that we went. It was a great time. Shout out to the people of Tulsa. Hey, Tulsans.
Listen, man, the flyover states to which, as soon as you get west of that Mississippi and then until you get to about literally the city of Las Vegas, you know why they all have to be nice? Because in the back of their heads, they're like, damn it, we need y'all to come back. We need y'all to go whenever you're back in your densely populated city and state. We need you to tell somebody to please pull on through. Okay, just come on by.
Come
Just
holler
please
at us.
stop, support the local. And this is coming from a person who grew up, all right, in Colorado. So I am familiar with being a resident of a flyover state. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Was it humid? Was it sticky? Was it
It
the
was very
stickiest
hot.
of the icky?
It
It was
it was
hot.
one it was 100 degrees. It was
Okay,
extremely hot.
do you have an awesome city to look forward to next year? Or like do y'all just throw a dart at the map like a couple of months prior? Or is this sort of planned out?
No, it's super planned out. My husband's mom, this is all came about because there is 9 of them. There is 9 siblings, and, maybe 30, 40 years ago, they started doing these family reunions. They lost their parents when they were young, so family's very important to them, and every year, it's a different family member's turn. So
Oh,
even though some of the siblings have passed, their kin go on and they plan it. So this year, it was Omar's family that planned this, reunion, and the next year, it'll be somebody else in the family's turn to plan the reunion. We won't know where it'll be. There has been some rumblings, maybe Colorado. There's been some rumblings, maybe a national park. So it really just
oh,
depends. Whatever anybody's feeling is how we end up going. But I was able on the way home from Tulsa yesterday to tap in to the Fever Mercury game, which I was very excited about. This is a game that we had circled. Honestly, the second that Diana Taurasi on the national championship said she's got a reality check, right? Like,
since
people
April.
made her the first target, like, "You're a hater, you're da da da, can't
Mhm.
wait for this matchup." We had it circled. The Mercury started marketing this matchup literally the day that Caitlin Clark was drafted because they had the schedule and knew when they would be playing her. So there was a lot of build up to this, certainly, Diana Taurasi versus Caitlin Clark. I think they were calling it the GOAT versus the Rook. And it lived up to it. I mean, the
Mhm.
Fever were down 15. They stormed back. It really was a fantastic game, especially down the stretch. Caitlin Clark came 1 rebound shy of a triple double. She'd have been the first rookie in WNBA history to get a triple double. Kelsey Mitchell with some clutch buckets down the stretch, but really they just got dominated on the boards, did the Mercury in the second half, which is why they ended up coming back. So it ended up being exactly the kind of game that you were hoping for, a really good game for a Mercury team who's still trying to sort of round into playoff form. Not a ton of expectation from the Fever, but they needed this win because this was the first team that they had beat with a winning record, right? So the Fever have been stringing some wins together, but they've been
Yeah.
sort of picking on the bottom of the barrel teams. This is a playoff contender and someone that LaChina Robinson said could really contend with the Aces for a championship. So this was a huge win for them in Phoenix, another sold out crowd, standing ovation for Caitlin Clark, who, by the way, we found out later on was having a flu game. I love this about her too. I love the idea that we didn't know until afterwards when she didn't show up for the press conference to gloat or do any of that, that she was feeling sick this whole time and still almost made a little bit of history, more logo threes, more incredible dimes. It was just a really, really great matchup. Shout out to Leah Boston, 17 points. I mean, the Fever, as expected, guys, are starting to play better and better, string some things together. And we actually heard Diana Taurasi say exactly that post game.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. What Caitlin's been able to do in her short career so far has just been nothing short of remarkable. The one thing that I really love about her, she loves the game. You can tell she's put the work in. And even, throughout, her short WNBA career, it's been a lot of pressure, a lot of things thrown at her. And, she keeps showing up and keeps getting better every single game. So her future is super bright. And, you know, being a veteran and being in this league for a long, long time, it's pretty cool to see that and, going into the future.
See, so all is right. She respects her. She thinks she's doing great things. We can move on from Diana's hating on Caitlin Clark. She was right in terms of there is a reality check and a learning curve, and we certainly saw that in full display. But Caitlin has played incredibly well, and apparently now doing it sick too.
Okay, and also it just counts as a win on their schedule. But this, I think, when you really buckle down and think about what this game meant for not just the Fever, but Caitlin Clark, if you could give a bonus win or a bonus 2 wins for a team, having to go on the road, knowing that they were in the crosshairs basically since April. We had this whole piece that Rebecca Lobo narrated on SportsCenter all weekend long, talking about the GOAT, talking about the Rook, talking about, how there's already contention having these players not even played on the same court or shared the same court before in a competitive atmosphere. Caitlin Clark, looking up to Diana Taurasi as her idol and the reason why she wanted to be so good at basketball. And then the Fever having to go on the road as a sub 500 team against a team that was above 500. Now they are exactly 500 in front of a sold out crowd to do it with all of this talk. And then finding out that Caitlin Clark was sick. I mean, this certainly feels like more than just a win. This feels like a game and a moment in a still, well, about the halfway point of a season that could truly catapult the Fever into like a pretty ridiculous run. In my opinion. Also,
Yeah,
side
I
note
mean, I'm
here,
still listen, I'm still waiting, right? Like they got mollywopped by the Storm the game before, who are
sure.
a true playoff. So listen, like
But Jewel Lloyd's playing unconscious right now. She's the
she
hottest player
absolutely
in
is.
the league, and Jewel Lloyd putting everybody. She's putting everybody on skates. You know what? 7 or 8 consecutive 30-point games, 25 30-point games in her career. She only trails what I think Stewie for the franchise record.
Which is
So I
saying
mean,
something.
you're trading blows with like the upper echelon of the
Sure.
league, and the
I agree
Fever
with you, Gary, that this was a measuring stick game for the Fever
definitely.
because, again, they haven't been able to beat a team with a 500 record. So they were able to do that on the road with all of the animus and sort of all of the
Yeah.
extra storylines around it. And it was really, really, because there was a couple of times where it looked like they could have given up, especially down the stretch, where it
Hell
looked
yeah.
like the Mercury was starting to pull away a little bit. And here they come with a clutch 3 or a really big stop or a turnover. And so I thought that they certainly matured a ton in that game. And now we're really starting to see like what it looks like when you've got this inside outside game. Aaliyah Boston's really been
Mhm.
getting back into midseason form. She had a tough start to the season, but she's starting to look like herself again. So and then again, some really clutch buckets down the stretch for the rest of the Fever teammates. This comes after a game where Caitlin Clark's coach, Christy Sides, is saying, we need her to shoot more. This was the sort of perfect example of what it looks like when she's doing everything in her bag, including getting one rebound shy, but including getting those rebounds, her ability to score, her ability to assist. I think that, to your point, Jewel Lloyd, in the same way, she's trying to push Asia Wilson
Mhm.
for MVP, because right now Asia Wilson is like the hands down MVP. I just don't understand. I don't know anybody that would be able to come for that mantle right now based on how Asia is playing, but Jewel Lloyd is definitely making an argument. And you could say the same thing for Angel Reese right now, who's trying to at least make the Rookie of the Year conversation interesting, getting a WNBA record 10th straight double-double also yesterday for the Chicago Sky. So again, this is something that, we predicted months ago Caitlin Clark would win Rookie of the Year, and certainly it looks like right now she is still firmly in position to do that. I'd say the odds makers would tell you the same. But Angel Reese is making the race
Mhm.
interesting. Angel Reese is playing incredibly well for Chicago as well. Another team that is young, trying to sort of find their way and doesn't look like a playoff team, but anything can go. I mean, you're going to take a month off for the Olympic break coming up very soon, Gary, and momentum changes all the time, right? Like
Correct.
if you're the Liberty, you're hating the Olympic break, right? If you're someone like the Fever or some of these other teams that want to get healthy, that are still learning each other, that are still young, it's going to be a great opportunity for you to bridge that gap a little bit.
Definitely. As an absolute side note, I want to text Christine Williamson, our girl who did sidelines yesterday,
Yeah,
because
she did.
we both know her as a germaphobe, man. She's got the app that scans the barcode to see if there's red dye 40 in it. I want to ask her if she's mad that she didn't know Caitlin Clark had the flu or a fever, and she was like this close to her. You know what? I'm gonna text her, and hopefully she writes back to me before the end of this program. But
Just
Christine,
text her. Yeah, text her and see. But
I'm gonna
yeah,
say it.
listen, it was a fantastic day. And again, I love that at the very least, some of the extracurricular narratives have calmed down a little bit and we've got real basketball as we hone in. Liberty's still the team to beat, but you've got the Sun in there, you've got the Minnesota Lynx, of course, the Storm with Jewel Lloyd. Like, this is going to be a very interesting second half of the season after the Olympic break, and I'm super pumped about that. There is nothing worse in the world, and I will tell you this, going back to Christine, than having to do. The good news is that, at least in the W, while the players are certainly taller than Christine's a tall person, they're not
Yes.
that much taller. When I used to sideline for the Atlanta Hawks, there was nothing more disgusting in the world than trying to do your half game or post game interview. These dudes are 6'10",
Oh yeah.
6'11". So you're essentially, your arm is straight up in the air
Yeah.
and they're dripping sweat. The
Oh,
sweat's dripping from them as they talk. The sweat is dripping onto their mouth and then they're spraying it into your face
Elle,
while
what
their
the hell?
sweat is dripping down your arm. It is just, it's
Where are you
disgusting.
going with this?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, it is
Oh, oh,
people don't acknowledge how
oh,
disgusting having to sideline is in many ways, especially with the tallies.
oh
And
yeah,
it's not great. Just another man's sweat
yeah.
all over you as you're just attempting to do your job. It's
Straight up.
disgusting.
And on top of that, we've all been in those scenarios when I was with the Sox or even just one-on-one interviews with people. We've been around some folk who's got some halitosis.
Oh,
Yeah. I've honestly been on the guilty end of that too, which is unfortunate. Sometimes, you're like, oh God, I don't have gum. Give me something, give me
mints,
something.
yeah.
And then you don't have anything. And then it's like, damn it. Then you got to get in this person's face and you can just tell you got something funky going on. I always feel terrible about that. But I'm talking like at the ESPYs, which I'll be at next week. I'm talking 2 ESPYs ago, a literal household name. I'm not going to out anybody, a couple household names right here. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is bad.
bad.
This is bad. I can't
Oh,
say names, but I was like, holy smokes.
Okay, in the interest of teasing people with blind, tabloid
Yeah.
stories, I have had a situation
Uh-huh.
when we were both working at Nesson for the Red Sox, and one of the Red Sox players at the time, he had what looked like potentially could be a herp
Oh.
on his lip.
Oh.
And as I'm interviewing him, his mouth just kept getting closer and closer to the microphone. And I
Oh.
kept trying to pull it away because, of course, this is the microphone that I then have to use as we do it back and forth. And it just kept, and I could not stop staring at it to the point where once the interview was over, I told them to burn the mic. I was like, I think maybe you should. I think this is just one you're going to have to take it for the team and throw it away, which is also a really interesting situation when you're fairly certain someone's got.
I think I
And
know
this
who you're talking
person,
about.
you would be like, yeah, I'm not usually the person that would just assume someone's got that going on, but based on this person's reputation, I think it was a
I think I
strong
know
assumption.
exactly who you're talking. What year was this? You could just give me the year.
No, because then people are gonna pull up their roster. I mean, you
Yeah.
know the years that I was at Ness and what years I wasn't there long,
I
dude.
think I know exactly who it is. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I
No,
was
you
gonna
should
give you the
text me.
initials, but I was like, wait a minute, I can't do the initials. This is the only dude on the team with these initials. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You should text me and then I will confirm, or that'll be an interesting part. We'll just leave that out for social media to guess who was it on that team
I'm gonna text you
that
right
was the
now.
most likely to have a herplet.
I just texted
And
you.
when I tell you the names, no, I knew you were gonna say him. You texted it to me. Not him. Not him.
Really?
Not him. I know. I knew that's where you were gonna go
Okay.
based on. I'll just throw out not Mike Napoli.
Oh my God.
That is who Gary texted. It was not him. It was not him. I'm gonna text you
Interesting.
the name right
Okay.
now. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm texting it to the group chat.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Nah. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on, I think. Yeah. It was like a petri dish in that locker room. You ain't lying.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of Boy Scouts in that locker room at the time.
Nah.
There was like sweet, innocent. There was the counter to like Xander Bogaerts and Mookie Betts, right? The
Yes.
most sweet, innocent guys of all time. There was the total opposite end of that on that
And then
team
you
as
had some
well.
dogs. Yeah. No, you're right. No, that checks out. It was quite the petri dish.
Yeah, so there it is. I don't even know how we got off the rails there talking about
Samesies.
herplips and mics, but I feel like Christine would have died in that moment. She'd
Oh
have
yeah,
been like,
true. I
okay.
text her. Her notifications are on silent because I think one of her flights got canceled. She's down bad right now.
Oh, poor girl.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
worst.
It is the absolute worst. You know what sucks too? Missing stuff. Okay, on the other side of the Elle Duncan Show, we'll just take a quick little, quick little
Yeah.
respite, if you
Gotta
will,
pay
a
these bills.
breather. On the other side, we'll tell you what you missed, including the NBA cosplaying as the Antiques Roadshow. That's still ahead. We back on the Elle Duncan Show with Gary Streisky. Maybe it's because it's the summer and I've just been incredibly overwhelmed
Yeah.
this year, but I legitimately NBA free agency came at me out of nowhere. I was like, oh, wait, it is? I got an alert that's like, join Malika Andrews and company for a free agency special. I was like, oh. And normally I think it happens like during the week. And so it falls within my purview. It did not this year. But I think one of the best things about this particular NBA free agency, Gare Bear, is that it's a little bit like watching the Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah, hell
You
yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
Where seemingly this thing just sort of looks like junk. Then you take it to this thing and they're like, what? No, this thing is definitely worth $212 million.
For the
This is
vintage aspect of it.
for the vintage Paul George, you think
Correct.
it's only worth a bag of Funyuns. It's actually worth $212 million. And we're getting a little bit of that right now. Some of these numbers are eye-popping for guys that, yeah, I mean, still are contributors, but ultimately
Like 50
contributing to
million a year.
what? I mean, sometimes it feels like we learn from past transgressions, and like maybe people would have looked at what happened with the Clippers and Kawhi and Paul and everything that they gave up and all the money that they gave up to try and put this championship caliber team together that never really had an opportunity to get off the ground because of injuries or because they choked. I mean, a bevy of reasons. But instead, Paul George, after discussing with the Clippers for a little bit about coming back, decides, I'm going to bail. I'm going to go to the Sixers, another team that has done this often, overpaid people. They're going to give him $212 million for a 4-year deal for Paul George, who
Which
is
would have been
34 years
sick
old.
5 years ago, which would have been
Right.
like an absolute steal 5 years ago. But
Yeah.
5 years after his Clippers tenure, he is now 34. And pretty much the only reason the Sixers got him, they had the money to get him. And as Woj explained when he was on SportsCenter with us yesterday, like he and the Clippers like sat and talked, and they offered him a healthy extension, but he wanted the 4th year. Like that was a requirement that he wanted and needed a 4th year. And I think that is telling as to what the franchise, at least out west, deemed him as like, dude, if you want 4 years, you're going to be 38 going on 39 in the last year of
Yeah.
that deal. And the only person we've seen have those numbers at that age is LeBron freaking James, right?
Correct. Do
Which
we
is
think Paul George is
crazy.
going to be LeBron James at
Nah,
39 and
hell
not
no.
LeBron James
Especially
at
in that
34?
Philadelphia ecosystem, which hasn't put anything together. And you got to think like Joel Embiid's not getting younger. He is still in his prime. And yes, they locked up Tyrese Maxey. So it is a very formidable big three. But 34 is not young. And you listen to these names that are now getting these deals. Chris Paul, 1-year deal, $11 million to be like a veteran point guard presence for Wemby down there in San Antonio. But he's 39. All right. James Harden, he is staying in LA to the tune of 2 years, $70 million, but he's 34. Like, this is crazy, Elle. Again, these names signing extensions or getting deals or getting money would have been insane. Like, these are like A-list names 5-6 years ago, but these are the names now that are on the move. What about 34-year-old Klay Thompson, who is done in the Bay Area? Woj said he has played his last game as a Warrior. Look for him to either be signing with, what is it, the Magic, the Lakers, or the Mavericks. So it's crazy to see like the guys who dominated an entire decade from 2010 to 2020 being like additional pieces or getting the 1 or 2 year deals. Kind of wild.
I mean, I think that the person here who benefits the most, at least out of the 76ers deal, is Joel Embiid, because you think about the fact that he is a former MVP, a defensive player of the year. This dude signed a 4-year, $213 million deal with the Sixers like a year ago. So you're talking about Paul George now making the same amount of money as the face of the franchise. Joel Embiid undoubtedly after this year, and I think this is sort of a Hail Mary last-ditch effort to keep Joel in the building, because certainly if they keep having these same middling results that they've had for years now, then he's going to want to bail. And I think this is sort of their last-ditch effort to say, we are serious about putting a real team around you. We've locked up Tyrese Maxey. He's a bona fide superstar. Now we've got Paul George, great two-way player. Like, we're going to make this and try and make this work. But if you're Joel Embiid, you're letting this year ride out and seeing what it looks like, and then you're absolutely going back to the table for more money, despite the fact that you've got an option in 2026, 27. So this is, I think, great for Joel Embiid, but it really does just talk about the fact that, like, the market just keeps resetting itself. And like, I'm
Correct.
not one of those people that likes to do this whole argument about like, is he worth the money? The market says he's worth the money. Go get your money, right? Like, it is what it is. It doesn't matter if we think Dak Prescott is worth $45 million a year. Like, that's what the market has set. They keep resetting the market. Like, go get your money, sir. But the idea that, again, a year ago, Joel Embiid was making this exact same money at age 29 that they just gave Paul George at age 34. At some point, you're going to be talking about, with frequency, handing out $300, $400, $500 million contracts within just the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, there's got to be a top. I mean, like, when does it end? You
Sure.
know?
Yeah. Not anytime soon, because with the new TV rights deal, what was it? The boys on the Hoop Collective were saying that in the next decade, we're going to see our first $100 million player. It's obviously not going to be Paul George. He'll be done by then. It's not going to be Joel Embiid. They're talking to the likes of like Luka Doncic, his contracts are timed out to basically allow him to be like that first $100 million player. But Joel Embiid, making 50. So he's going to be like, yo, why are you paying Paul George the same amount as me? You
60.
better pay me 60.
Right.
Where's my 60 M's, which is
Right.
crazy.
You think about the fact that Damian Lillard was making 45 million for many years. He was the highest paid player in any sport because he was
league.
making 45,
Yeah.
$47 million a year. I mean, there's just, and especially when you're talking about these players where we haven't exactly seen them result in championships. So we'll see. It's better for the East when teams like the Sixers are good. I mean, the Knicks are absolutely loaded. And I think some of this as well is a counter to Boston, who
Yes.
has already shown their dominance, and to be incredibly young still, and to have that core there, someone that looks like they could be dynastic, let's win
Correct.
2 in a row first.
Well,
or at least
especially
2.
after who they just locked up. Luke Cornett's coming back. He signed that 1-year deal. So, hey, cue the duck boats, Elle. All I'm saying is keep the motors running because Luke Cornett's coming back. It's a bad day to be a team in the Eastern Conference outside of Boston.
It really is. I mean, the Eastern Conference for a long time, it was like 1 or 2 teams were okay, and it was always all the talk about out west, and it was sort of handicapped. Would it be any of the Eastern Conference teams even able to compete with the Western Conference? But the Eastern Conference is absolutely jacked. I mean, certainly you've got your Timberwolves and your OKCs of the world, and obviously the Mavericks. Nobody's sleeping on Denver. But I mean, when you talk about the juice and the momentum, sort of the arms race that we've seen over the last few years, a lot of that resides in the East. And in particular, I'm very excited for some future Knicks Celtics matchups, especially after the Knicks reloaded as well. But I forgot to start off in a celebratory tone by wishing you a happy holiday. Today, sir,
Yes.
is Bobby Bonilla Day. Now,
What
for
a
those
legend.
of you,
I
just
can't.
a legend. For those of you that are brand new, Gary, very
Yes.
quickly, we will tell you what Bobby Bonilla Day is. Essentially, Bobby Bonilla gets an annual $1 million from the New York Mets, and something that I didn't even realize until this year, he also gets $500,000 from the Orioles. Okay. This comes from a contract deal many, many, many years ago where they didn't want to pay him all this money up front. So they deferred the payments. And because they did that, interest is hit. All right. So he gets $1 million a year annually from the Orioles, 500,000 from the O's. 1.1 million from the Mets. The payment started in 2004 from the Orioles, and then they started about 7 years later from the Mets. He has currently made $27 million off that deal so far. The Baltimore payments will stop in 2028, and the Mets in 2035. Well, he will have earned a total of $42.3 million for essentially
Incredible.
they were trying to get out of paying what? 3-4 million?
No, the Mets were like, we're done with you. We're going to pay you not to be on this roster, to occupy a spot on this roster. Have a good life. You talk about hitting the lottery. There's hitting the lottery, and then there's hitting the Bobby Bonilla lottery when you don't have to do anything to just be told to go away.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible. That's why I liken it to, okay, yeah, sometimes I'll spend a couple bucks on like a Mega Millions and it'd be like, oh, it'd be so cool to win like 50 million bucks, 100 million bucks. But how cool would it be? I oftentimes buy the scratchies that are like win $10,000 a month for life. That's the kind of sustainability and passive income that I want. All right. You can keep your lump sum payment. Keep feeding me. Keep leading me with that carrot month to month. Or if you're Bobby Bonilla, year to year, knowing that on July 1st, every single year, that direct deposit's going to hit. You know what I'm saying? There's no risk in blowing like this gigantic load of cash because you're not going to get the lump sum. You're just going to get a couple nibbles every year. And that's something I'm trying to nibble on, Elle. Like, why can't I fail like that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I guess, again, this is always a nod to Bobby Bonilla's agent, but also a complete and total boneheaded reminder of how stupid they only owed Bobby Bonilla $6 million. That's all they owed him. They owed him $6 million. So they were like, we don't want you to play for us anymore. And instead of giving you this buyout of $6 million, because we are the Mets and we can't afford it, we're going to stretch this out for 30 years and end up paying you $42 million. How, Sway? Like, I just don't understand how on God's earth someone was able to float that by ownership at the time. And someone was like, you know what? This feels great. I mean, this is a Bernie Madoff level scandal. It's unbelievable the scam that he was able to pull on these morons.
And it's just evidence that people are stupid when they're spending other people's money.
Fair.
All right. Because if this had to come out of the actual executive's pocket, they'd have done everything they could to just get this payment out of the way. And I say morons spending other people's money. Look at the trillions of dollars of debt we're in right now as a country. All right.
Spend
Come on, man. When you're spending other people's money, you don't care.
Fair.
It hurts a
Max
little bit harder
Scherzer-
when you have to hand over some cash, your
This
own
is fair.
cash.
I mean, Max Scherzer is going to get $105 million from the Nationals through 2028 because of some deferred payments. Shohei, very famously, $650 million. That will also be deferred. Ken Griffey Jr. gets almost $4 million from the Reds every year through this year as part of a deferred deal. So this happens quite a bit, just not in the same way that Bobby Bonilla did. But this, to me, every year when everybody's popping champagne or celebrating Bobby Bonilla Day, it is a reminder to me to just go in to my little iPhone here and look under my subscription plans and figure out what the hell I'm paying for that over time is adding up to a lot of money. Do you ever get those little notifications? It's like $3.25 was charged to your account. I'm like, well, what is this for?
Apple
And it's
charge.
seemingly such an arbitrary amount that you're like, whatever. But once you start looking, you're like, yo, this adds up, bruh. And before you know it, you've paid $1,000 a year for some AI generator that you didn't even realize you were paying for. So I want you right now, Gary, to go look into your subscriptions. You know how to get there.
I actually don't.
Okay. You're going to go to your settings. Go to settings and then see where your name is at the top where it says like Apple ID, iCloud, media, purchases. Click on that. And then go about 4 down to subscriptions.
Oh, God.
And click on subscriptions. And you tell me what you are currently spending money on that you may not even know. Okay. PornTube is free, Gary, so you don't have to worry about that.
Thanks. Don't ask me to look for my browser history. Okay. Oh, inactive. So I've let these expire.
Okay.
YouTube TV. No. YouTube Premium. Apple TV. MyFitnessPal is expiring July 16th. I got 15 days.
Well, but I was going to say, did you go ahead and cancel your subscription? Because here's the cheat code for my friends at home. Here's what you do. You do one of those free trials. And then the second that the free trial goes through, you go over to your subscriptions and you cancel it. And you still get to keep it for the week or the whatever, but you cancel it right away. The other thing you have to do, if you do an annual if you do an annual subscription, get the annual subscription and then immediately cancel it. You'll get to keep it through the year, but it will not renew. Because that's where the other place they get you is that you forget. It's been a year. You're like, yeah, I'll get this for $25 for the year. That's nothing. What? You forget. Then all of a sudden you look up a year later and you've been charged $80 for the same exact app because the special ran out. So like right now on mine, I'm paying Apple TV. Cool. I know that. Okay. Kadopia.
Huh?
Kill me. Anyone with kids knows what Kadopia is. It's basically like an iPad learning thing for kids. They can color, they can learn, they can do math, just like that.
Okay, but how much is that running your pockets every month?
Well, it's $80 a year.
God.
And it renews on December 22nd. So I'm going to go ahead right now while we're thinking about it, and I'm going to cancel subscription. And then I'm going to get a little notification that says you can still access this until December 22nd.
But is that something you want to cancel? Because your kids are still going to be kids by the time December comes around.
They are, but I'm going to revisit that once I get there, right? It's not going to be a surprise. I'm going to.
And you're certainly going to get the reminder from them when they start crying and like, Mom, what happened to the iPad?
Why, Mom? Why? Vimeo. I'm paying $84 a year for Vimeo, and it will renew next June. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that now.
What the hell are you paying for Vimeo for?
So that I can download Vimeo videos like what we do here or when I do Taking the L. Like it actually is one of those things that I tried to get rid of, but I actually need it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, and I'm paying for Workout for Women. See, I don't even know what this app is, and I'm paying for it. Unbelievable.
How much does that run in your pockets?
$30 a year.
God, that adds up, Elle.
It all starts to add up. And so
You're
this
talking
be a
about
reminder.
$160. That's $200 worth of subs right there.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Things you just don't pay attention to. It's like, oh, The Athletic, that $3 a month adds up. The New York Times, that adds up. The Atlantic, that adds up. That adds up. It all starts adding up. Huh?
Damn, you got mad subs.
Well, I mean, I like to read, Gary, and I like to find out what's happening. I like the pulse of what's happening
I mean,
here. If you
let
just
me
look at ESPN.com, sometimes you're looking a little bit in a vacuum. So I enjoy the articles. I enjoy, some of the op-eds and things like that. So I pay for them. But again, at the
okay.
time, it's like, yeah, you're right. What's $2 a month? But when you have 50 subscriptions, it really starts adding up.
No, for sure. Every month I see the Apple 349 and then it went up to like 699. I had to look and I'm like, I'm paying for like 3 terabytes of storage. I'm like, where's all this storage? And then I get
Mhm.
told it's in a cloud. Hell, I'm 37, but I'm operating sometimes as a boomer as it relates to like where all my
Fair.
stuff is.
How
So
much do you
sometimes
pay a month for all of your OnlyFans accounts that you follow?
you're so stupid.
Would you ever start an OnlyFans?
It depends. What's the content?
I mean, isn't that the thing is that people can pay for like all kinds of I have a million
Cooking.
girlfriends who swear that like I don't know if this is true, but they swear that like they could just take some pictures of their feet, stay anonymous and make $1 million a month. I don't
I
really
believe it.
think
Foot
See, I think
Finder.
I've never been on OnlyFans. It feels like to make that kind of money, you got to get naked. It doesn't feel like anyone's paying for feet content, but if they are, we've got multiple pairs of feet in this house. I
I'm saying,
mean,
yo, Elle could hook you up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, um a producer who will remain anonymous because he was way too quick with the actual website, Foot Finder. Okay.
ah,
That is where you can go make a living. I've been told, Elle, and I know you hate feet. So
yes,
that's a website you would never visit.
no.
I've been told I got nice feet for a dude. Maybe I'll kick the idea around. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll kick the idea around to supplement my income. So maybe one day I can know what it feels like to be a Bobby Bonilla. You feel me?
I think there's a world where Gary, you could take your man mask content,
Yes.
just do it shirtless, and
Oh,
then just very slowly like take the creams off your face.
oh,
Like, I think you could be sexually suggestive without having to be sexual. Like, I could think you could say things like, and here I am, cream in my face, and just do it without a shirt on, like the Montana boys, but like with face products or whatever. And I guarantee you, you could make some money doing that. Can we try this? Can you just try some OnlyFans content? I think you could do well with it. And it
no,
would be
Elle.
nothing that you'd be
Not saying
ashamed
that
of.
stuff.
It'd be nothing that you'd be ashamed of. You just have to like, you just have to tiptoe around the sexual innuendo.
Oh my God. That was not tiptoeing. That was kicking the door down Jean-Claude Van Damme style. Elle, what the hell?
Who wants to spray me with cream on my
Oh
face?
my God. You know what? Nah, you know what? I'm gonna stay in my humble, mediocre life. You know what?
You
I don't
could
need
though.
all that
Here's the
extra.
thing, because here's the thing about being a man. I'm not going to speak for all women here. I'm going to just speak for at least myself and some of the other women that I know. Naked men is not that hot.
Uh-huh.
Like I like once you guys get all the way stripped, it's like, you know, that's
Yeah.
not like particularly pleasant to look at. So you all don't have to get naked. Like you could wear like a little pair of hot boxer briefs,
Whoa.
hot pants, honestly. And you
Okay.
could sort of just be a hot guy without having to be naked. Like girls got to take it all off on OnlyFans in order to make money. But I don't think men do because your audience doesn't care about that. Like your audience wouldn't necessarily want to see you full frontal
I
anyway.
think you're
I think
right.
that you could make a lucrative career pretending to be like a Calvin Klein model,
I
and
think
then
you're
just have to do stuff to yourself.
I now you got the wheel spinning in my head.
Right?
I probably still can. There's probably somewhere in the contract that I can't do that. It's something about bringing shame and embarrassment to the company. There's
More
probably
so than usual, Gary.
there's probably a stipulation in there that says something like that covers it vaguely. But the bosses do listen, and I'm sure we'll get a text that says, Gary, as much as Elle was campaigning for it, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do it. I'm just waiting for the text that we'll probably get next week.
You can just be like, "What? I'm just tweezing my nipple hairs. There's nothing untoward about that." Some
Okay,
people are
Elle,
just
first
into
of
stuff
all,
like that.
I thought you knew me. I don't have body hair. I don't get hair
See,
anywhere.
that's your bio on your OnlyFans.
Hair, hairless adult.
I
Sick.
don't have body hair. It's like, ooh, prove it.
Body hairless. That's me.
Anywhere.
It's a
Oh yeah,
superpower.
like every single every single new thing, like every month or every week or whatever you're doing new content, it could be like, let's check out this part of Gary's body and see if there's hair on it or not. I'm telling you, no hair Gare. It's
I'm telling you right now, there's no hair south of my eyebrows. It's just, it is what it
prove
is.
it.
It
Prove
is
it.
what it is. You know what I mean? No, that's a tease. You'll have to log into
And
my
then
OnlyFans to find out more.
you can do the collabo that the world needs. Hairy Gary, hairless Gary, no hair Gare, and the Hawk Tuah girl. So I had to look up finally what the hell this was because I was
Okay.
just, there's some stuff that I just try to ignore. I'm like, I
Uh-huh.
don't care. I don't care that everyone on social is talking about it. I'm just going to sort of ignore it because I don't care.
Uh-huh.
But it's become so pervasive. She's popping up at like Zach Bryan concerts and she's everywhere. And people keep talking about Hawk Tuah. So I
Everywhere.
finally looked it up and I'm like, oh, wow, she must be her father's pride and joy. This girl goes viral on like a man on the street because she was asked the question of like, what's the move in bed that you make that drives your man crazy? And she was like, she got
Excuse
that
me?
spit game.
She was
She got
what?
she got that spit game. And so now this girl has gone completely famous, viral. She's selling merchandise. She's allegedly made over $60,000 selling Hawk Tuah merchandise,
Okay.
which is the
Hey,
new Von Dutch. And she has an agent. And I'm just listen, I am not one to begrudge anybody making their money, getting their 15 minutes of fame. Certainly she said that, and I can't imagine that she thought it would become as big as it is. But the idea this girl has an agent for what? Like,
get your paper. Elle, the
but
internet.
doing what? Like, what's the agent? What are you gonna do? You're gonna like make a cameo on Sesame Street? Like, what's the agent for? What are we doing here? You're paying, like, are you paying Hawk to a girl to come to your concert and make an appearance? Like, what's the price for that?
Yo,
I'm
people are
intrigued.
people are buying this merch. Elle, I'm saying TikTok is soon to pass real estate, in my actual opinion, of making the most millionaires in our society. All right, think about all the famous people who are famous for no reason other than they have good internet connection. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, I mean, Kim Kardashian walked so all of these other people could run straight to the bank. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
fair. That's fair. But what they did was they took that moment in time, whatever it was, sex tape, whatever it is, notoriety, but then they pivoted into business women. Like she's
Okay.
not still just famous for her sex tape with Ray J. Like she turned it into a business, right? I think about I had a friend, a family member who's no longer with us, but he used to manage Backpack Kid. You remember Backpack Kid?
Oh, yeah. The
Right.
floss kid?
The flossy kid. And he would show up at stuff and he would floss and he was at award shows and he was doing all of this. But he would always talk about our family member would always talk about how difficult it is. Like once you get past, how do you parlay that into something else? How do you pivot from that thing that made you famous into an actual lucrative business? And it is
Mhm.
very difficult to do. A lot of these
Correct.
people, the sustainability is not there, the longevity is not there. And so now, unfortunately, like Backpack Kid is a grown man. It's not adorable anymore. Like it's not
Yes.
cute that he's doing the flossy and making weird faces at stuff. So it's like he was never able to. I think he tried to do some music and like stuff like that, but he was never able to parlay that. So
He
like
tried another dance, didn't catch on. It doesn't.
exactly. So like if you're Hawk to a girl, apart from selling 60,000, which is great, like $60,000 you didn't see coming, and if you're 20 or however old she seemingly is, like that's great. But when you talk about long-term sustainability, like where does this end? Because if she's smart, then she is trying to think in that lane. How do I parlay this into, do I come out with, mouth lubricants? Do I come out with a sex toy line? How far do you want to ride this thing? And you're going like this and you're shaking your head, but somewhere her dad is like trying to explain to his friends why his daughter Haley is famous.
Well, I don't know. I mean, where does she go from here? Podcast. I mean, dude, Call Her Daddy basically did this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many examples of taking something.
There's one example, and it's Call Her Daddy, and she was incredibly famous, and it blew up, and it is one of the most listened to podcasts in the world, and that's
Uh-huh.
all due respect. You don't think that she's the only one that's tried since? I mean, again, she found a lane, and she blazed that trail for herself,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering what Hawk Tuah girl's plan is here. I hope that she can continue to reach long-term
Hey,
financial.
hey, she's gonna become a Dolphins fan. Okay, she's gonna be down there, and it's gonna
Hawk
be like
Tuah.
the two. There's gonna be some sort of connection. On that note, Randy Scott this weekend on SportsCenter slid in the most covert Hawk Tuah in the history of sports television when DeJounte Murray was traded from the Hawks to the Pelicans.
Okay.
And his read was DeJounte Murray from a Hawk to a Pelican. And he said it on the sly so efficiently that RCPs didn't hear it until the third hour of SportsCenter. By then, everybody on the internet was like, Randy Scott, you ain't slick, bro. You are not slick. So I was like, yo, do you want me to clip that and like tweet it? He was like, I don't want to bring any attention to it. So now here we are bringing attention to it. Which is funny. Like, I don't know if your show group does this with you and Kevin, probably more with you than Kevin. But like, if anything like that is making its rounds on social media, before you can even breach the topic, they're like, oh, and by the way, Elle, no, you can't say Hawk or Tua or try to combine the two. John Devers, our producer, the morning after it went viral, like we walked in and he was like, no Hawk Tuahs under any circumstance in the show. And I'm like, damn, bro, you didn't even give us a chance.
No, my show group doesn't do that to me, mostly because they know the second you tell me not to do something, I am 100% going to do it.
Yes.
I am incredibly immature in that way. I might not have
Correct.
even thought about it, but the second you go, under no circumstances will you say this, I'm going to do that
Damn.
every single time. Now, there will be times in my ear where I am tiptoeing a line that they'll go, careful, as I'm saying it. But mostly they leave me to my own devices and let me sit in it. I fully expect to get called to the principal's office, and that's okay.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to operate now with that reckless abandon because that was pre me re-signing. So now the ink has dried, Elle, and I'm going to be like, well, Elle told me I could. Elle told me I could.
Yay, congratulations. Gare Bear has locked us up, or we've locked him up, rather. We're all locked up together.
Elle, listen, can't get
They
rid of
won't
me.
let you out. Akon.
Even though I tried and I told you that I was leaving, just for that brief moment in the green room, and you got mad at me, and I saw the anger in your eyes well up, and I was like, I better put an end to this before she throws this hot iron at me.
Yeah, he thought he was going to be cute and tell me that he wasn't coming back. And I was like, Gary, this is a thing that affects me too. You have to tell me this if you're really leaving the network. And I was like, you're lying. And he's like, I'm not. He tried to play it so serious for a while. And I was getting pissed because I'm like, listen, you can do whatever you want and I will support you as your friend and I love you. But we also do a show together. So if you're planning on leaving, you have to tell me I no longer have a co-host.
Straight up. So I was like, all right, joke's over.
I was
I'm
mad.
sticking around.
I was big mad. Well, we're so glad that you are sticking around, friend. And we love having you on this show. Not enough to put your name on the show, of course, but
Don't
just
want it.
enough to tease it in front of you. It's true. It's true. For all of you that feel bad for Gary, we flirted with putting his name on the show. He did not want, he wanted no association with this
No,
show.
I don't want to take away from the aura that is, which by the way, I saw your new studio before you've even seen it. So I think you'll be impressed, but you will have some notes for the decor. Let's just say that.
All right. Yeah, we are allegedly upgrading to a new virtual studio. We'll certainly see how that plays out. Of course, we've got 4th of July this week. So we're going to do a little shorty for you. Okay. We're going to tape a little something for you, something 4th of July tinged. We'll figure it out as we go along. But we will see you on Thursday for a special 4th of July edition of the Elle Duncan Show. Send us your thoughts, your comments. Make sure to rate us and subscribe and do all that stuff. Tell somebody about the podcast because we're gearing up, man. We're getting closer and closer to fall. We've got some great things for you, great guests lined up. A lot of big things coming for the show. So we appreciate your support as always while you ride through us in the doldrums of summer. By the way, a lot of other podcasts are struggling right now because the sports ain't sporting in the summer. Not us. This is where we come to thrive. So come to us all summer long and we still got the goods.